federal program with such a great champion as Europe has in Congressman Chaka Fattah. Many of you are new to this conference, so I want to make sure you know who he is. Representative Chaka Fattah is completing his 16th year in the U.S. House of Representatives on behalf of the 2nd District of Pennsylvania. He is a senior member on the very important and influential House Appropriation Committee. Over the past 12 years, more than $4 billion of federal funds have been used to serve some 12 million students in 49 states, Puerto Rico, the District of Columbia, and U.S. territories as a result of his work. The important role Europe has in this new venture is linked to Fattah's long-held belief in the importance of innovative programs to ensure students achieve academic success. He is deservedly the recipient of numerous honors and awards, including 10 honorary doctorates, and the University of Pennsylvania's Fells Center of Government Distinguished Alumni Achievement Award. Time Magazine named Fattah one of the 50 most promising leaders in the country. The Congressman and his wife Renee have 4 children. Mrs. Fattah is a lawyer and a TV news anchor. Those of you who live in Philadelphia know her. Congressman Fattah and his family are longtime members of our Mount Carmel Baptist Church in Philadelphia, and he's an avid golfer and a bike enthusiast, and he has a really cool phone. I hope you remember that. When we just had the Europe Alumni Leadership Academy in Washington, D.C., and they did a briefing on the Hill, it was just thrilling for me to see Congressman watch them and see his reaction to them. And the heart and love he has for our students and for our alumni cannot be surpassed. Please welcome our good friend, the architect, creator, and champion of the Europe program, the Honorable Chaka Fattah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Please. It is just an extraordinary pleasure for me to join you again at the annual Gear Up Conference and to come here to California. And Shelley, I've been with her before visiting here some of the Gear Up partnerships and schools and young people as the Gear Up State Director here in California. She has done an extraordinary job. Nathan, leading INSEP and your great board here. Give Shelley and Nathan and the leadership of INSEP a big round of applause for their guidance and support for this conference and this program. Now, I wondered what I would say here this morning as I was flying in last night. And I thought about the fact I was just in Dublin, Ireland, as the only American official at a European-wide conference on brain research. And in October, I'll be keynoting an international conference on neuroscience, this investigation we have of trying to figure out how to solve some of the over 500 diseases of the brain. I'll be keynoting, opening up a conference in Israel with the president of Israel in October. And I thought about that in contrast to the first day I walked into high school, when the counselor, sight unseen, had determined that I was not college material, had determined I should go in a wood shop or automotive shop. Now, if you ask my wife about what I can do in terms of with a hammer and a nail, you knew this counselor really didn't have a good sense about who I was. But what was interesting, this was before I got to college. I didn't get into my first choice college. I ended up at a great school, though, Community College of Philadelphia, and leaped from there to University of Penn. And then it was funny, because when I went to community college, I went back to the high school to harass the counselor. And when I got to Penn, I went back again. And when I got to, I was at this program at the Kennedy School at Harvard, one summer, and right there at the Charles River, I sent her a note and a picture. And when I came out with a master's degree, the woman just decided to retire. That was it. But the point is that Gear Up is, you know, they say scientists go about things based on their own experiences. And we all have our own story. I'm sure you have your own story. But we have a common heritage, which is that we know that people have written people off at times. And it takes some guidance and some effort for them to be written back in. That's what Gear Up is. There are people who some have determined are just going to be spectators, but if we make the effort, they can be powerful participants. That lives that would, in some people's minds, be irrelevant can be made significant. And the difference is education and opportunity. And that's why I'm so thankful for what you've done with Gear Up. You should give yourselves a tremendous round of applause for all of the young people who you helped see not just where they are now, but the potential they have. And I've been out, I've visited lots of Gear Up programs, not just because Shelley has harassed me to come to California. I was just in Washington State, I guess last year, this time, visiting with some great Gear Up students from Gear Up West and from Washington State in particular. I've been early in the morning at a math workshop in Brooklyn with the one of the Brooklyn Gear Up programs in New York, and over at Kane University with student tutorial programs run by Gear Up students. And had some 3,000 young people focused on academic preparation. But I've been to dozens and dozens of states, and I want to come to your state soon. Visiting with, learning about how this program has developed. Now, when I introduced Gear Up, there was a majority Republican Congress at the time. I was a Democrat, and I still am a Democrat, but this is not a partisan program. When I introduced it, the Republicans controlled the House and the Senate, and we passed Gear Up into law with strong bipartisan votes in both chambers. It was a new approach. It was a new approach to an old problem, which was that we weren't going to just go along and get along. We were going to take all of the young people and we're going to do what we call the cohort approach. And this is very different. It's never been done in federal policy before. We take every single student in that earliest grade in middle school and give them a chance and an opportunity to see what their potential could be. So all I can tell you is that my story at my high school is not unique. In fact, you can go to high schools where young people who come from challenging neighborhoods, whose families don't have all of the financial wherewithal that they would want to have, but who are hardworking and God-fearing and want the best for their young people. If you go to those neighborhoods, you will find some people who want to write those children off. What Gear Up is about writing them back in. And that's why I'm so appreciative. When we passed this into law, the first year it was funded at $100 million. And billions of dollars later and millions of kids later, this is the largest early college scholarship and education program in the country's history. And you built it. You built it. And more important than its size is its impact. It is the most successful program ever designed to help young people from a disadvantaged background move forward in their life onto college and college degree attainment. So you've done a great job. And I just want to say that I note that the theme for the conference, the Dream Machine. And I thought about that, and I want to close on this question about dreams because I read this book with my two daughters, my my 9-year-old and my 14-year-old, we read a book together, and we were reading this book called The Dream Giver. It's by a guy by the name of Bruce Wilkinson. But the point of it was that it was about a character called Ordinary, who lived in a town called Normal, who did all the usual things. But it was only in breaking out of his comfort zone and moving to the unfamiliar that he got a chance to really benefit from the dream that had been given to him. And that's what I wanted to start the rest of my case on, because somewhere between the gifts that our young people have been given, that they will have to reach outside their comfort zone. That is, that they're going to have to pass up a party maybe to study a little bit harder for a test. They're going to have to take AP courses and be more aggressive in their pursuits than maybe some might have thought they should. But if they really pursue their dreams, we know they can achieve anything that they believe. And that aptitude is important, but attitude is equally important. And they have to believe in themselves. Dr. King, on his last visit to Philadelphia when he was alive, spoke at one of our schools, and he said to the young people there, he said, you could be the architects of your own lives. You can achieve anything that you believe. And that's what this is all about. And so I rest on this point that the next book we read together was called The Dream Walker. It's by a friend of mine, Dr. Bernard Harris, who got to be grew up in Texas, and spent part of his life in a Native American reservation. And he wanted to be an MD and an astronaut. And anyway, he eventually got to do both. And he got a chance to step outside into space and literally walk in space. And that's why the book is called The Dream Walker. But he talked about a moment in which, because it gets awfully cold in space, when he almost, in a circumstance, literally froze. But when he got a chance to, in the gravitational pull, or the non-gravity, the circular pull of what he was doing, got a chance to face the earth again, the warmth from home warmed his body. And he talks about this in this book. And so all I can tell you is that's what Gear Up really is about. It's about giving these young people a home court advantage. That is, having someone who's rooting for them, someone who expects the best from them, someone who will help them when they have a setback, to see it as nothing except a stepping stone for a comeback. You are doing so much, and our country is going to benefit because you're preparing the leadership for the future, not just the workforce for the future. Our country needs these young people. If we're going to compete with billion-plus populated countries and competition is great, but countries like China and India, if we're going to compete with only 300 million people, we need every one of these young people to move from the shadows into the sunshine and catch some of the warmth that Gear Up can provide. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Have a great time here in California. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good to see you.
Absolutely.
Congressman Fattah, we are very fortunate to have you as our stalwart champion, and we appreciate all you do to strengthen Gear Up on behalf of our students. You can't teach a congressman to love and care about students. They have to have it. And we're so glad that he is that dedication and that commitment and lives it out in a way that really supports Gear Up and advances our future. Thank you so much. Let's stand and give Congressman a round of applause. All right, let's have the AV roll the video as we prepare for our next speaker.